The Toyota RAV4 has been the reigning champ in the compact SUV ring for years, but Hyundai's latest Tucson just stepped in swinging. What looked like a routine matchup for me just turned into a serious upset, and the winner might surprise you. Hello everyone, this is Scott from CarlandTV. It's time to hop in the front seat because today, I'm putting the 2026 Toyota RAV4 and Hyundai Tucson head-to-head, and the results may flip everything you thought you knew about these compact SUVs. Before I start, I would really appreciate it if you would push those buttons below, the subscribe button, the notification bell, all of them. This is not necessary, but those little clicks help a brother out. Plus, it pushes me to give you more valuable car-related content on your screen. Now, buckle up, and let's get back to the video. I've earnestly had to spare a few days to put both the 2026 RAV4 and Tucson through real-world driving, and from what I can tell, what you read on spec sheets only tells half the story. On paper, the RAV4 comes with a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated inline-4, pushing 203 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque. It's paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission and offers both FWD and AWD. Feels solid and predictable, especially in highway cruising. But once you press it for overtakes or hill climbs, the engine starts to get buzzy and a bit reluctant. Now, let's talk about the new Tucson. Same base displacement at 2.5 liters. But Hyundai's tuning lands it slightly lower at 187 horsepower. You'd think it falls behind, right? Not quite. The difference is Hyundai's hybrid and plug-in hybrid options, which crank out up to 226 and 277 horsepower respectively. I got behind the wheel of that plug-in model, and it pulls harder off the line than most folks would expect from a compact SUV. It's smoother, quieter, and that electric assist fills in the torque gap where the RAV4 tends to hesitate. Handling-wise, the Tucson rides softer. The steering is a bit more insulated, but it actually feels more planted in tight corners thanks to its balanced suspension tuning. The RAV4 is stiffer and flatter in body roll, but doesn't quite communicate through the wheel the way you'd want when you're really trying to feel the road. If you're thinking all gas, the RAV4 wins on throttle response. But once you factor in hybrids, the new Tucson pulls ahead. If we're talking about where most folks spend their time with a vehicle, it's not under the hood, it's in the cabin. And this is where Hyundai flipped the script. I've sat in every trim from base SE to limited, and the Tucson feels like it skipped a segment. The dashboard layout is cleaner, the tech is more integrated, and even the materials, on a mid-trim Tucson, feel more upscale than what Toyota's offering on an XLE. The RAV4's interior, on the other hand, feels functional but dated. Toyota's design team seems to favor chunky plastics and rugged textures that scream adventure, which might work for some, but it starts to feel more workmanlike than refined when you're in it every day. The XLE Premium gives you faux leather, a stitched dash, and a larger screen. However, the 8-inch or even 10.5-inch displays still look framed in older tech. It works. It's reliable, but it's not that eye-catching. The Tucson's digital cockpit is where it really starts pulling ahead. A standard 10.25-inch digital cluster, available touchscreens that span edge to edge, and actual usable voice controls. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are on both models, but only the Tucson keeps it wireless across the lineup. RAV4 locks wirelessly behind higher trims or optional packages. Add in Tucson's ambient lighting, digital key, and ventilated rear seats. Yes, you heard it right. That's rear. And Toyota just doesn't have an answer for it in this segment. If interior quality and tech are priorities, this one isn't even close. Now this is where things get personal because how a car feels on the road tells you more than a spec sheet ever could. The 2026 RAV4 has that familiar Toyota ride. It's firm, a little noisy on rough pavement, and the steering feels a touch numb through the corners. Not bad, just utilitarian. You can tell it was tuned with durability and off-pavement confidence in mind, even though they dropped the TRD off-road trim this year. Over time, though, it starts to feel stiff in city traffic and a bit clunky over speed bumps or cracked highways. The Tucson is much more refined. I had it out on a 300-mile stretch of mixed driving, and it never once wore me down. The suspension soaks up imperfections like a larger SUV would. It's not floaty, but it isolates cabin occupants from potholes and surface changes far better than the RAV4. The electric steering in the Tucson isn't sporty, but it feels lighter and more composed when parking or cruising through tighter suburban roads. Add in Hyundai's effort to quiet the cabin, especially in the hybrid trims, and it just comes off as more polished. Noise insulation is also better in Tucson. Wind and road noise are noticeably dialed down, especially above 60 miles per hour. That alone makes long trips more enjoyable. The RAV4 holds its own on back roads, but it just doesn't ride like something from 2026. If your daily drive involves bad pavement, city sprawl, or long hauls, Tucson just rides smarter. Now that I've got that covered, I want to proceed with the part that usually separates the casual shoppers from the folks who actually run the numbers. When you look at what these two nameplates offer dollar for dollar, you'd think the RAV4 would come out ahead because, well, it's a Toyota. And don't get me wrong, it holds its resale like a vault. But when I started breaking down feature for feature across trims and factored in ownership costs, Hyundai started showing up with the better long game. Let's start with the price. The 2026 RAV4 starts around $30,000 for the base LE and tops out near $40,000 for the Limited. Hyundai's Tucson starts a bit lower, and even when you spec out the Limited or the hybrid trims, you're often walking away with more tech and comfort for the same or less money. Rear vents, digital gauge clusters, panoramic sunroofs, ventilated seats, many of these are either unavailable or locked behind top-tier packages on the Toyota. Hyundai gives them earlier. Now factor in warranty. Toyota gives you 3 years or 36,000 miles bumper to bumper and 5 years or 60,000 miles on the powertrain. Hyundai? Try 5 years or 60,000 bumper to bumper and a massive 10 years or 100,000 miles for the powertrain. That's a serious leg up, especially for folks keeping their SUV past year 5. Plus, Hyundai throws in 3 years of scheduled maintenance. Toyota covers only 2. Resale still leans Toyota, sure. But when you look at what you get up front and what you might not have to pay later, Tucson's value proposition hits harder than you'd think. Overall, this comparison surprised me more than I expected. I've been around long enough to know what the RAV4 brings to the table. It's consistent, well-built, and backed by one of the strongest reputations in the game. But after driving both the 2026 Toyota RAV4 and the Hyundai Tucson across real roads, loaded with real gear, and running through real-world errands and trips, it became clear that this isn't just a close call. The Tucson didn't just catch up, it passed. The RAV4 still nails reliability, has better off-pavement credibility, and holds resale value like a champ. That's huge. But Toyota hasn't moved the needle much in the last few years. It's still riding on the same 203 horsepower engine, same transmission, and the same no-nonsense interior vibe. Meanwhile, Hyundai came swinging with a more refined drive, better standard features, a more tech-rich cabin, and hybrid powertrains that make the Tucson quicker and more efficient. The Tucson also gives you more for your dollar, plain and simple. From warranty to infotainment to day-to-day comfort, Hyundai has packed this thing with features that Toyota either charges extra for or doesn't offer at all. This wasn't just about checking boxes. It's about who actually delivers a better daily driving experience for real people. So if you're still holding on to the idea that the RAV4 is the automatic winner in 2026, it might be time to rethink. The Tucson has evolved into a serious contender, and this time, it just might have pulled off the upset.